My name's Mike Cornell. At present, I have the privilege of being on Lake Wellesley in the Yukon, very close to the Alaska border. And we're here because Lake Wellesley is famous for its Lake Char. On the lake itself, in particular, we're in a region called the Flats. This region has extreme depths up to 150 feet, which would normally be unfishable, except that we have the secret. The time of the year is the end of summer, and it's very hot at the moment, and as a result the big char, which is the guys we're after, are at considerable depths. So we'll be looking for fish. So how do you reach them? The conventional method is to use what's called a jig tube. As you can see, this is a flexible plastic covering over a hook that's weighted, which is what makes it go to the bottom, of course. Having done that, and the lure being on the bottom, the conventional method is to wait and then jig the lure up and down, this motion. However, we've varied that method, and what we've been doing recently is to drop the lure to the bottom and then put the engine in gear and move forward slightly, which has the effect of raising the lure from the bottom, maybe about 10 feet, and then putting the engine in neutral and allowing the boat to slow down so that the lure falls back to the bottom. And we've been having strikes when the lure has actually been falling back gently to the bottom. So that's what we're going to try and do. Now there's no telling how big this is. It's a question of waiting until he makes one of his runs, or on the other hand, occasionally everything stops and it's impossible to move the fish, it just stops. I presume that he's there you go. Now I can't move that fish at the moment. There's a tremendous strain on this rod. It's a beefy rod. Now we saw fish there on the fish finder, and we stopped the motor so the lure would fall to the bottom again, and as soon as it started to fall there was this violent take. Oh. I don't know how big he is, but he's putting up a hell of a scrap, and he's taking a hell of a lot of backing off the reel. As you can see, these jig tubes resemble squid, but of course there are no squid in Lake Wellesley, and it's considered that it may represent regurgitated food from smaller char that are being attacked. However, it doesn't really matter, because we do know that they take these. I think you'd have to ask one. Whilst we've been here, we've been fortunate enough to take 2 or 3 or 4 even lake char in the 35-pound to 45-pound range. They're huge characters, these. They're extremely strong. As a result, the tackle's got to match it. We're using braid as the main line, 50 pounds breaking strain, and attached to that is about 15 to 20 foot of fluorocarbon again of at least 20 pounds breaking strain. The purpose of fluorocarbon is that when these large char are hooked, they have a tendency to spin, and if the braid were attached directly to the lure and got wrapped around the spinning trout, it can do a lot of damage and it can cut them. So this is the purpose of the fluorocarbon, only that, to look after these wonderful creatures, some of whom are 70, 80 years old. So we like to think we treat them with the greatest of respect and return them unharmed to fight another day. As I say, with relationship to this respect for these splendid creatures, they're coming up during the scrap from 70 foot. And it's very, very important, as they're raised to the surface, that they, what's known as degas. That being, we want them to empty the air from their swim bladders. If they don't do this, and when they reach the surface, when we want to return them back to the water, they're unable to go down again because their swim bladders are still full of air. So we have to watch quite closely when we're bringing them near the surface to watch out for these large bubbles. Whoa. It's another old warrior, I think. I'm told that these fish, they grow at about half a pound a year. So a 40 pounder is 80 years old. So one has to treat them with respect, as you would with any elderly person. Looks like a good one. Ferocious fighting fish. I mean, this is a very special experience, this. There's not a ripple on the water. The sun's shining brightly, it's very warm, and it's 5 to 10. It's a wonderful place to be. And you've got one of these guys on the end of your rod. What could be better? On my own.